Going on the record, today is Friday, September 6, 2019. The time is 10:19 a.m. The location is the Killeen Civic Center, 3601 South W.S. Young Drive, Killeen, Texas, 76542. I'm Michael Clark, Legal Video Specialist for Hughesby, 1230 West Moorhead Street, Suite 408, Charlotte, North Carolina, 28208. The case number is 3:1-8-CV-00296-LRH-CBC, style Tesla, Inc., a Delaware corporation, versus Martin Tripp, an individual. Martin Tripp, an individual, counterclaimant, Tesla, Inc., a Delaware corporation. The witness is Shamara Bell. The video deposition is requested by Robert D. Mitchell, counsel for the defendant, counterclaimant. All counsel and all present will please identify themselves for the record, including their respective firms. Mr. Mitchell.
Good morning. This is Robert Mitchell of Tiffany & Bosco, and we represent the defendant, counterclaimant Martin Tripp.
And good morning. This is Doug Beteta representing Tesla and the witness, and Tesla is the plaintiff and counter defendant.
The stenographer court reporter is Toby Moreland, also of Hughesby, who may now swear in the deponent.
Okay, if you raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
And before we get started, Robert, I'm sorry. I just want to put on the record that I don't believe Ms. Bell has received her witness fee, and we're not waiving the witness fee. We expect that to be paid promptly. I guess that has not been paid.
Absolutely. I was unaware of that. We'll make sure that happens, Ms. Bell.
Thank you. Sorry.
We ready to begin?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good morning, Ms. Bell. My name is Robert Mitchell. As I said, I'm an attorney with the law firm of Tiffany & Bosco, and we represent Martin Tripp in certain litigation he has with Tesla that's pending in federal court in Nevada. Again, I apologize for not being there in person. It had been my intent to, but our flight had problems, and so here we are. I'm going to try to get you through this as quickly as possible, but with that said, if there's any point you wish to take a break, just tell me, and we'd be happy to do so. Let me begin by asking you, Ms. Bell, have you ever been deposed before?
Never.
All right. Well, let me just go over some of the guidelines. Today, obviously, even though we're not in court, you're testifying as if you were in a court of law, and your testimony is under oath and subject to the penalties of perjury. Do you understand that?
I do.
And are you on any medication or have any health condition, Ms. Bell, that would affect your ability to give testimony today to the best of your ability?
Sorry, no.
Wonderful. And let me go over just a couple of the guide rules, and this may be particularly important given we're doing this via video conference. It's important for you to wait till I finish my question before you try to respond, even if you think you know where I'm going. And likewise, I'll try to be patient and make sure you finish your answer before I start another question. Agreed?
Agreed.
Also, it's important for purposes of the record that we answer and talk audibly rather than nodding of the head or uh-huhs or uh-uhs, because those don't come across on the record very well. Agreed?
Understood. Agreed.
Thank you. Let's begin by asking you to please state your full legal name for the record.
Shamara Bell.
Miss Bell, have you ever used any other names?
No.
Miss Bell, sorry to be impertinent, but let me ask how old you are.
34.
Right. And would you tell us a little bit about your schooling? Where did you go to school?
I went to school in Victorville, California, at a charter school called Options for Youth.
All right. And then would you briefly summarize your work history during your adult years?
Sure. Currently I am working for Apple, Kelly Connections for the Apple campaign. Prior to that, I worked for Tesla, formerly SolarCity, for the last 4 years. I worked for the company for 4 years. Prior to that, I worked at Netflix. And prior to that, I worked at PlayStation, all call centers, all customer service.
Thank you. And so do you do similar activities for Apple today that you did for the SolarCity division of Tesla?
Similar in the aspect of troubleshooting, but not too similar.
Okay. Now, during the time period that you worked at Tesla, I noticed one of the documents I looked at said that you worked in connection with the SolarCity division. Can you tell me what that is?
Absolutely. So SolarCity, Tesla bought out SolarCity, of course. I don't know if you guys are aware, but SolarCity is a solar company that installs panels and solar inverters to help people save money. It's a green company, but I was tech support for this company. So SolarCity just rolled over into Tesla after the buyout. So that's basically what I did, answer calls in regards to troubleshooting with solar systems.
And did you work for SolarCity before it was acquired by Tesla?
I did.
Okay. And what location did you work at for SolarCity?
The address was, I don't know the exact address anymore, but it was in Las Vegas, Nevada, off of Warm Springs and Pollock Road.
So your entire time for your employment at the SolarCity facility and after the time it was acquired by Tesla was in Las Vegas?
Correct.
And I'm sorry, Robert, can we take a quick break? The food we ordered is here.
Sure. How long would you like to take?
I'm not sure. 5 minutes, 10 minutes? Shamara, how long?
Probably 10 minutes.
10 minutes?
10 minutes.
All right. Thank you.
Going off the record, the time is 10:27 a.m.
Okay.
Does the videographer want to get us back on track?
Yes, hold on
doing that
just a
right
second.
now.
Back on the record, the time is 10:33 a.m.
Great. Ms. Bell, let's talk about your employment with Tesla. How long were you an employee of Tesla?
I was employed with Tesla for 4 years.
All right. And do you recall approximately from when to when?
Approximately January of 2015 up until January of 2019.
All right. And did your responsibilities, once the company you worked with was acquired by Tesla, change in any respect?
No, the only thing that changed basically was the name.
And what did the name change from and to?
From SolarCity to Tesla Energy.
Did your title change?
No.
Once Tesla acquired SolarCity, did Tesla provide you with any new or different training?
Yes, at times. You want me to elaborate?
Can you describe what? Please do. Thank you.
Okay, so with the acquisition of Tesla came battery training for solar systems, like the backup batteries. But that's probably the major and only difference was the battery training.
Was there any change in procedures related to the call center that you worked?
With the battery department that came along, we did have to. Well, we had a whole different battery team, so we had to kind of focus more on the new product because that was the newest product. But there were different troubleshooting steps that were required for the batteries. So, yeah, I guess.
Did any? My apologies. I keep breaking my own rule, talking over you. I didn't realize we're not quite done, and I'll be careful. Did any of the equipment, the phone system equipment, change during the time you were employed?
Absolutely. I don't.
Would you tell us about that?
Yeah. So the phone system, I believe around the we've had a few different changes in the phone systems. I believe we were just converting over from one system to the next, or we were in the process of converting over. I don't remember the names of the software as it's been well over a year since I've been employed there. But we were converting, and at times this did occur with different systems that we used. Sorry, let me just move up.
So do I understand correctly that the phone system was upgraded at one or more occasions when you were employed by either SolarCity or Tesla Electric?
Correct.
Or Tesla Energy? And do you know how many times approximately?
Approximately, I'd say at least 3 times.
If I were to isolate June of 2018, had the phone system been recently upgraded to your knowledge?
I'm trying to recall because we switched over to a Genesis phone system during that time frame, and it was rolling out slowly to different departments. So I don't recall if it had fully rolled over to my department at that time. Just to the best of my knowledge, that's all I can remember about that.
Can you describe your duties in more detail? You explained to me that you did troubleshooting and with respect to technical issues. Would you tell me generally what that involved?
So on a daily basis, I took incoming and made outgoing phone calls to customers that had solar systems. We would get alerts in our database for solar systems that failed, and it was our responsibility to reach out to the customer to investigate the issue, verify error codes. Depending on what the error codes were, we would troubleshoot accordingly. If it's something that we couldn't resolve over the phone, at that point, we would go ahead and escalate a ticket to have a technician come out. I think that about covers it. If it's something that we couldn't do, then we would get them assigned with a technician, or we could get them over to a different department, just depending on the issue.
So that I can understand how the system worked, would it be fair to say that you received calls from existing customers who had technical issues with their systems?
Correct.
How would they come about to have the phone number to reach the department where you worked?
Objection calls for speculation.
You can answer if you know.
I'm gonna follow my lawyers.
You can answer.
Okay. Well, if I do know. So just like with any company that you go with, example, phone company, you get a bill. Our number is listed there. We also sent emails in regards to failing solar systems. That included our department's phone number. And I would assume that you could probably, look us up, Google us. And that, again, that's assumption. But I know as far as us, we provide our phone number with emails when it comes to failing solar systems so that our customers can reach out and contact us.
And when you talk about failing solar systems, is that something that you ascertain at your location or at the company location, and then you reach out to the customers? In other words, are you the first to know that they have an issue with their solar system, or do you simply wait for them to call you?
We had an alert system that would kind of ping, I guess is a good word, better word, ping us of systems that were no longer producing energy. So there were times when our customers were aware of the issue before we were, but a lot of the times we were aware of the issue and reached out to the customer in regards to it.
Understood. So if someone just wanted to call Tesla generally, is it your understanding that there was other phone numbers that they would call rather than to call where you were at?
Objection calls for speculation.
I'm sorry, I didn't
Do you
even
have any
understand the
understanding?
question. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, I sure will. Did you have an understanding as to if someone wanted to call Tesla about, let's say, a question about their cars, was that call normally routed to your department?
Objection calls for speculation.
Normally routed to my department if it's in regards to a car, no. However, we do tend to get rollover, and that's quite it happens a lot for different departments.
All right. And let me backtrack a little bit. I don't think we established what date did you leave Tesla?
I don't have the exact date. I do know that it was January of 2019, so it was earlier this year.
And Ms. Bell, why did you leave Tesla?
Well, to explore new options. I relocated from Las Vegas to Texas, so I just thought it was a better move for me, and I went ahead and I made that decision to leave.
I see. So you resigned. Is that correct?
Correct.
And did you give notice?
Absolutely.
All right. How long did you give notice?
2 weeks.
All right. And then is your new job working for Apple in Killeen, Texas?
It's actually a work from home job, but I am in Killeen, Texas.
All right. And for the record, in case we needed to follow up with you or reach out to you, can you give us your personal address as well as your phone number, please?
6100 Rancière Avenue, Lot 280, Killeen, Texas, 76543. And what else did you ask for?
Thank you. And a phone number.
Phone number 702-245-0405.
And of course, just for the record, if you want to contact her, you should contact her to counsel, Mr. Mitchell.
Okay. Well, let me follow up on that. Ms. Bell, are you represented by counsel here today?
I am.
And who is your counsel?
My lawyer, Doug. I can't pronounce his name, Betitin.
Okay. Do you understand Mr. Batetta is also counsel for Tesla in this case?
Correct. Yes, I do.
Okay. And when did he become your counsel in the case?
I don't have the exact date, so I don't want to misquote.
All right. Was it recently, or has it been some time ago?
Jackson vague.
Recently or a long time
Yes,
ago,
no.
I've always been in contact with him, so I guess it depends on what do you mean by recently or a long time ago.
All right. All right. So it hasn't been like within the last 2 weeks.
No.
Has it been several months
Yes.
or more?
Yes.
All right. All right, Ms. Bell, just so it's clear for you, unless your counsel instructs you not to answer, his objections are for the record so that the judge can later make whatever determination the judge wants to make with them. So unless he tells you not to answer, please go ahead and do your best you can to answer, unless for some reason you don't understand the question, in which case just ask me to rephrase it, okay?
Okay.
All right. Did you receive any type of severance package from Tesla when you left?
No.
Do you have any ongoing relationship with Tesla other than having common counsel?
No.
When was the last time, Ms. Bell, you spoke with anyone from Tesla?
Well, I do have a few friends, ex-coworkers that I worked with that, well, not even a few, maybe two other people that I'm currently still friends with. Last time I spoke to them, probably back in May? June? No. Yeah, about May. It's been a while.
Ms. Bell, is there anyone at Tesla that you've spoken with concerning my client, Martin Tripp, or the phone call you took in June of 2018, potentially related to Mr. Tripp?
No. Do you mean after I left the company?
Yes, Ms. Bell.
No.
Can you tell us what you've done in connection with your deposition today to prepare for your deposition, if anything?
Search through documents as far as my emails, as far as my phone, for anything related to Donald Tripp that I could, Martin Tripp, I don't know why Donald Trump, Martin Tripp, and I provided I provided anything that I could find in relation to your client as evidence. Like, I can't think of anything else that I could do, but that's about it.
And who did you provide those documents to?
To my lawyer.
All right. And can you tell us what those documents consisted of that you were able to find?
Yeah, so I was contacted by a reporter who was he was interested in interviewing me in regards to the Martin Tripp situation case. So that's it.
All right. So the documents that you provided to your counsel related to a reporter that reached out to you to request an interview?
Correct.
And did that take place after you had left Tesla?
Yes, it did.
Do you know who the reporter was or what publication that reporter represented?
I don't recall. I believe his name was Matt, but I don't know who he represented. I don't even recall. Sorry.
And do you recall the approximate month that this reach out to you by the reporter took place?
I don't know. I don't recall. I just don't want to give you the wrong dates, but I did submit it over to my lawyer. I just don't know what date it was. I ended up
All right.
emailing.
And do you think it was email communications between you and the reporter? Is that what you think the documents were?
Okay, can you repeat the question?
Yes, of course. What was the nature of the documents? Were they like emails?
Oh, no. So it was through social media. He was trying to reach out to me through Facebook Messenger. I just happened to see the message, never responded to it. But yeah, I took a screenshot and I sent, that over to my lawyer so they were aware of a reporter that was trying to reach out to me.
Okay. And so you think it consisted of a single screenshot? That's the document that you're talking about?
That is.
Did you actually have a conversation with the reporter by phone or in person?
No, I didn't.
Let me talk to you now a little bit more focused on some of the issues related to our case. Did you ever meet the defendant, counterclaimant in this case, Martin Tripp?
Never.
Have you read a copy of the complaint that Tesla filed against Mr. Tripp?
I have, but not. I guess I have. I do know a little bit about what's going on. I'm not up to date on it, but yeah.
All right. Well, I'm certainly not going to test you. I was just curious if you had been provided a copy of the complaint. And have you also read the counterclaim that Mr. Tripp has asserted against Tesla?
I haven't.
Do you have any understanding of what the allegations by Mr. Tripp are against Tesla and his counterclaim?
Vaguely. Vaguely.
Okay. What is your understanding of those counterclaims?
Counterclaims. Martin Tripp is saying that that Tesla is lying or trying to sabotage him in a way. I don't know if I'm absolutely right. So I don't understand the whole situation. All I know is my part in it. So I don't want to assume to understand what's going on because I honestly don't know the whole story.
All right. Well, the main topic, Ms. Bell, I want to discuss with you today is an incident in June of 2018 when someone allegedly called Tesla's call center about Mr. Tripp. You were the representative in the call center in Nevada that ultimately received the call. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Ms. Bell, how well would you say today that you recall the phone call that took place in June 20th, 2018?
Very good question. I mean, I do recall the conversation. It was unlike any call that I've ever taken before. But as far as the exact verbiage, it's been over a year. So, I recall. I'll never forget the phone call. I know that.
Ms. Bell, do you recall approximately what time you received the phone call on June 20, 2018?
That I don't know.
If I told you certain documents produced to us by Tesla suggest it was at 1:39 or 1:40 p.m. in the afternoon, would you have any reason to disagree with that?
No, that could be about right.
And tell me as best you can tell me, how did the call come in?
Okay, so it came in like any other call would. Our greeting was, Tesla Energy. This is Shamara. May I have your address with your zip code? I do remember he did not want to provide any of his information. He said, no, I don't have an account. I asked for his name. He declined to give a name. Did you just want to know how the call came in, or do you?
Yeah, well, let's start out with how the call came in. Did the call come in directly to you, or was it transferred to you from somewhere else?
The call was actually going over to our battery team, our Tesla battery team. So what happens is if they're all on calls, it'll roll over to us on the solar side, and I was the one that got the call.
So the call went to what location?
Same location, but it was we had two different teams. We had the solar energy team, and then we had the battery team for the solar systems. So initially, the call was going to go over to the battery team. Because no one was available, it rolled over to the solar energy team, which is why I got the call.
Ms. Bell, is the battery team also located in Las Vegas, or is that located somewhere else?
It is located in Las Vegas.
All right. So if I understand what you're explaining to me, the call came into the battery side of the call center in Las Vegas, but because all the people were busy on the other calls, it got rolled over to your division, and you happened to be the person who took the call.
Correct.
Is there any more detail you can give to me as to how the call got routed specifically to you, or is that just randomly done based on the system?
Yeah, it's randomly done. It just goes based on which agent is available at what time.
Can you explain to me a little bit about the process so I understand? When a call gets routed to you, does your phone just ring, or do you have a screen that tells you anything about the caller?
Now you're making me think, because it's been over a year. And we were switching different phone systems, like different computer systems. I don't recall. What I do remember, though, is that there was caller ID available. So sometimes when the calls rolled in, we're able to see where the customer is calling from, and we could actually, one of our little tricks, use that phone number to pull up the customer's account because it's a lot faster. But this call, when it came in, didn't have a number, like it was blocked. It didn't have a number attached to it.
I guess the question I'm trying to ask poorly did you have a computer terminal in front of you as well as a phone, and were they integrated in some way?
Oh, I don't remember, because at one point we had a system to where we were using like a hard phone, and the Genesis system, I believe, that we were converting over to was over to the soft phone, which was on a computer. So I don't recall at what point, what system we were using or transitioning. I remember the name, but I can't remember if we were using the hard phone or the soft phones at that time. It's been over a year. I have no idea.
All right, Ms. Bell, do you recall, because of the particular nature of this phone call and your indication that it is something you'll remember, do you remember anything about the setting when the call came in? In other words, was there anything on your screen, the kind of phone you had, anything that sticks out to you that you can describe about the technology that you had at your disposal at the time?
Jackson vague.
No.
In So at the time the phone call came in, what did you look at to see that the phone number was blocked?
So I don't recall if it was, well, you know what? When the calls rolled in, I do remember having a hard phone to the right and my computer in front of me. So when the calls come in, I can't remember exactly where the caller ID pops up. But I do know for a fact that I was able to confirm, and also throughout the phone call, that the number was blocked. So wherever that number was, where it was supposed to be, whether it was on the hard phone or on the computer, I know I confirmed throughout this call that there was no number tied to it. It was blocked. So I don't know.
Ms. Bell, did your phone system at the time allow you to record calls?
It did not. It did not.
Was that because that feature wasn't available to you, or did you have that feature and it wasn't working?
Injection Locks Foundation.
The feature wasn't available to us. Like, we didn't have call recording at that time.
Before you left Tesla's employment, did you at some later point obtain the ability to record phone calls?
We did.
And do you know when that happened?
Oh, good question. I don't recall the exact date, but I do know that it did happen because I remember thinking, oh, I wish these calls were recorded when I got that phone call. But yeah, we did acquire it after, I don't know, the time frame.
And you're certain that at the time of June 20, 2018, when you took the call that was in reference to Martin Tripp, you did not have the ability to record?
Absolutely certain.
Let's talk about the phone call that took place on June 20th. Was the caller a male or a female?
Male.
The call, according to records produced by Tesla, appeared to last between 5 to 6 minutes. Does that correlate to your recollection?
It seemed like it was longer than that, but that could be accurate.
Can you tell us specifically what you said to the caller and what the caller said to you?
Sure. Specifically, again, like I stated, this has been over a year. But to the best of my recollection, when I answered the call, he didn't want to provide his information like a normal call would go. But I still asked, how can I help you today? He did let me know, hey, I'm calling because I have a friend who was recently terminated. Well, I won't use the word terminated because that's not the word he used. I have a friend that was recently fired from your company, and he's really upset. I fear that people are going to get hurt. He's extremely volatile and he's heavily armed, and I'm worried about the safety of the employees in the Gigafactory. So at that point, I had to, I have a habit of recapping the issue. Okay, so I reiterated his issue, and I was like, well, I appreciate your calling. Can you just hold on just a little bit longer? He, again, refused to leave his information. I asked, well, would you like to leave maybe a phone number, a name, just something so that, we can have on record for you? He declined. He said he didn't want anything to do with he didn't want his name tied to it. So he didn't want to have anything to do with it because he said Martin Tripp was his friend. Well, He didn't say the word Martin Tripp at that moment. I put him on hold to consult with my supervisor. I had never gotten a call like this and didn't know what to do. So when I went to my supervisor and I let him know, hey, there's somebody on my phone. He says that he's a friend of Martin Tripp. Well, he says he's a friend of someone that has gotten fired recently, and says he's extremely upset. He's heavily armed. He's worried that people are going to get hurt in the Gigafactory. So my supervisor, there was someone sitting next to him, and my coworker, she was like, I wonder if he's talking about Martin Tripp. I'd never heard of Martin Tripp ever in my life. I was out of the loop. So I returned to the line just to see if I could confirm. And I did confirm. I said, well, is this call in regards to someone named Martin Tripp? They said, yes, this is in regards to Martin Tripp. At that point, all I could do was, just commend the caller for being brave, because he genuinely sounded like he was scared for the safety of others. And it's a hard thing to do, especially if, and I told him the same, it's a hard thing to do, especially if you're a friend with someone. It's hard, but I did appreciate the information and told him that I would escalate it to the appropriate teams. That's the gist of that conversation, but I mean, did you have any other questions about that part of it, or?
Thank you for that explanation. Was there anything else about the call you can recall that you shared with him or he shared with you?
When you say him, who are you referring to, my supervisor or the caller?
Thank you, the caller.
That I shared with him, there was no information that I could share with him. I just remember just taking the information. There's nothing that I could share, though.
All right. Was there anything else he told you other than what you just told me about?
Let me think, because I don't want to miss anything. It's been over a year. Nothing. Basically, the key points. He said he was a friend of someone who was extremely upset because his name was in the media. He was fired from Tesla. He's worried about the safety of others because he was heavily armed and volatile. He's afraid people were going to get hurt, and that was the purpose of his call. He refused to provide his contact information, didn't want to be involved, just wanted to give us the forewarning. That's basically all I can remember if I had to sum that call up. That's all I can remember at this moment. I mean, I've had multiple interviews, and my statement pretty much, probably the statement over a year ago, is more accurate than my recollection now. But that's all I can, that's as accurately as I can describe that.
Thank you, Ms. Bell. What was the caller's tone? Did the caller sound calm or nervous when he spoke to you?
He sounded a little nervous, only because, well, I can't say only because, but he did sound a little nervous. Conflicted, maybe. Yeah, that's probably the best way I can describe it.
And I think you indicated at some point you put the caller on hold, right?
Correct.
And if I heard you correctly, at that point you spoke with your supervisor?
Correct.
Who was the supervisor you spoke with?
Angel Bessinaez. I hope I'm saying his name right. Last name, anyway.
And do you recall what you said to the supervisor and what the supervisor said to you?
So I placed the caller on hold. went over to Angel. He sat behind me, and I just said, "Hey, I have somebody on my phone that says that they're a friend to somebody that was fired recently. Says that he's worried about his friend hurting people. He's heavily armed, volatile. So, as far as what he said to me, it was just one of those weird, like, I don't know, maybe a shocking moment. Like, what do I do? And then that's when my coworker chimed in, and she was like, "Well, I wonder if this is in regards to, Martin Tripp." So, he said, try to get a little more information. So I went back to my desk, and that's when I tried to, confirm, hey, who is this in regards to? But as far as my supervisor goes, he wanted more specifics, probe, try to figure out who is this in regards to, so that way we can escalate the ticket appropriately.
Who was the co-worker that suggested the name Martin Tripp to you?
Her name was Paola, and I don't remember her last name, but she was there. She was right next to him.
And how did she know the nature of the phone call you were having? I assume these are not on speakerphone, are they?
No. So our desks weren't like blocked off into cubicles like this, but she was sitting right next to my supervisor at the time. So, she overheard the conversation.
Everybody, for some reason, my audio went out, and so, my video went out. Can you still hear me?
I can, yep.
Can we take a 5-minute recess so I can see if I can get back on board?
Okay.
Going off the record, the time is 11:12 a.m.
Thank you very much.
Back on the record, the time is 11:19 a.m.
Thank you. Before the break, we were talking briefly about the phone call and how that was handled. When you spoke to the supervisor, was there any suggestion by you or by the supervisor that the supervisor take over the phone call?
No.
Did you ask the supervisor, do you want to take over this phone call?
I don't remember. I don't think I did, though. But, like, with escalations and stuff, maybe that might be why. I don't know. I just wanted to explain the issue to him. And, we needed more information before I could escalate it any further.
And when you say you needed more information before you could escalate it any further, what do you mean by that, just so I understand?
Not that we needed more information, but it would have been better if we could at least get the caller's name, a phone number, who this was in regards to. Just an attempt to get more information and to probe so that the report would be more complete is what I mean.
Had you ever had a call similar to this in your work experience?
Never.
Given that factor, was there any discussion between you and your supervisor while the call was on hold as to whether the call should be taken over by someone else?
No.
And at the time, did you think about, was there a way somehow to record the phone call, or did your supervisor suggest, let's think about a way we can record the rest of the phone call?
No. No.
When you went back onto the call, did you put it on speakerphone so other people could listen to the balance of the phone call?
No.
Did you have the ability to do that if you had wanted to?
Speakerphone, possibly.
think about perhaps using a cell phone to try to record the balance of the conversation?
Objection asked and answered.
No, we weren't supposed to have cell phones anyway while we're working. So, no, that didn't cross my mind.
Did your supervisor that you spoke with about the phone call suggest to you the possibility of let's figure out a way to record this using a cell phone or otherwise?
No.
Was there anyone aware that this phone call was going on other than your supervisor and the co-worker you told me about who mentioned Martin Tripp's name?
Objection calls for speculation.
Not that I recall.
After the phone call terminated, what did you do next?
So after the phone call terminated, well, I went right back to work and continued to take phone calls.
Was there any debriefing with your supervisor regarding the phone call you just concluded?
So just to kind of reiterate the call, yeah, we had a short little, meeting where I gave him all the information as best, as I could at that time. And he escalated it forward from there. And I just went back to work.
I see. And did you do that right at the end of the phone call or at some later point in time?
At the end of that phone call.
And that meeting that you had with your supervisor reviewing the phone call that had just taken place, how long did that meeting last?
Not long, only because of the seriousness of that phone call. We wanted to hurry up and, get it up to whoever needed that information. So if I had to estimate, a minute or two.
I see. And after that point in time, did you have any further discussions with anybody at Tesla about the phone call?
I did. After the fact, when I saw in the media that there was an article, I did speak to one of my buddies in regards to what I saw in the article.
All right. Do you know when that article came out?
I'm horrible with dates. No idea.
Was it the day after the phone call? Several days after the phone call? Any sense of timing?
I would say probably a few days after receiving that phone call.
Okay. Toby, I'd like to go through some exhibits. I know this may be awkward since I'm not there to help you with it, but the first exhibit I'd like to look at is one that has a Bates numbered on the lower right, 21431. So that's 21431, please.
Okay. Sorry, there's 80 pages here. Do you know if it's a multi-page or a single page? And I'm talking off the record because I can't talk and type at the same time.
Yes.
Okay. You say it's go ahead.
It's 21431. It's a 2-page email, and on the first page, it's from someone named Arian Adamson.
I don't think the Bates numbers came in.
Yeah.
The base numbers didn't come out, so you're gonna have to describe it in a different way, Robert.
Okay, so 2 pages. It's an email. I'll look for
What's
that.
at the top? What's the subject line?
Sure. It says, forward, Martin Tripp, possible threat. It's a 2-page email. All the copies were Bates stamped.
It didn't come out on the
Does it come
printing.
out?
It didn't come out in the printing.
None of the Bates stamps came out on the bottom. Tell me the from. That's what I'm looking for right now.
Yes. The from is from Arian Adamson.
It's 2 pages. There we go. We have it. Do you want it marked as an exhibit?
Yes, please.
Okay,
Yes, it's Exhibit 1.
this will be exhibit 1,
And you only have one copy, is that right?
and I only have 1 copy. Sorry.
Okay. Great.
Okay, I'm back on.
All right, great. This is a couple of emails, Ms. Bell, and I'd like to turn your attention to the earlier of the 2 emails. So if you go to the second page, I'd like to ask you if you recognize this as an email that you sent on June 20, 2018 at 1:51 p.m.
Yes, I do. I did send it.
Ms. Bell, it was sent at 1:51 p.m. Do you recall that was after or shortly after the phone call that you had?
Yes. Yes, it was shortly
Do you
after.
think you were off? I think I may have interrupted you. Would you say that again?
Yeah, I was just saying yes, it was shortly after.
Thank you. And you write to someone named Kristen Brillowitz. Can you tell me who that is?
Yes, Kristen, she was the secretary that was responsible for, well, I won't say responsible because I don't know her responsibilities, but I was advised to send an email over to Kristen, who was our secretary, and she would help to escalate the situation.
Okay. And in your email, you say the caller preferred to remain unknown. Friend of Martin Tripp is concerned that he may do something violent and volatile. Says he is concerned because he's very hostile and very well armed. Did you have any concerns as to if the caller was genuinely sincere, given the fact they would not give their name?
No concerns at all.
The caller who refused to give his name and called from a blocked number said he was a friend of Martin Tripp. But because he wouldn't give you his name, you don't have a way of knowing whether this person was or wasn't a friend of Martin Tripp. Is that correct?
I wouldn't know if he was a friend of Martin Tripp if he gave me his name. So either way, it's the seriousness of what he was saying that was the fact that's the issue.
All right. But what I was just trying to get at was you would agree, just because he said he's a friend of Martin Tripp, you have no way of knowing whether that was true or not, correct?
Right.
Okay. Just like the fact that he said that Martin Tripp might do something violent or volatile, just because he said that, you had no reason to know whether that was true or not. That's just what the caller told you, correct?
Correct.
The same thing would be true with respect to the statement that he was very well armed. Just because the caller said that, you, of course, had no basis to know whether that was true or not, right?
Correct.
And the fact that the caller wouldn't reveal his name, that didn't give you some question as to whether or not the person was serious or credible or not?
Objection asked and answered.
No.
Ms. Bell, have you ever been in a similar situation where you thought someone was dangerous or in a bad situation personally where you reported them to authorities?
No. No, not that I can recall.
Let's say, all right. Let's say this situation was one in which it was legitimate and you were in the position of the caller. Would Wouldn't you want to give your name so that whoever you're calling would take it more seriously or know that it was you?
Objection, comes for lay opinion.
No. In my personal opinion, certain matters I wouldn't want to even involve my name in. If I had a preference for this case, I would prefer this call to go to somebody else. I wish I hadn't have picked up that phone sometimes. It's just being associated just by, I would prefer not to be associated with other people's matters. But I would call for help.
But, all right. But I guess my question was, if you really had a fear that someone was going to do something awful, like what was implied by the phone call, wouldn't you want to give your name so that the person receiving the call took it more seriously?
Wouldn't I want to give my name? I don't know.
All right. Fair enough. Toby, I'd like to next go to a document. I take it you don't have any of the Bates numbers, so this is a document that is a two-page document, and most of the first page is blacked out, but at the bottom of it, it is from Jeff Jones to Miss Bell, and it's dated Thursday, June 21, 2018.
Okay, let me get that. I think I saw it here. No, that's from Angel. That's not the one. Nope, Jeff Jones. Okay, I'm marking that as Exhibit 2.
Thank you.
Sorry, let me move this.
That's fine.
All right. Ms. Bell, you have in front of you a two-page series of emails between yourself and someone named Jeff Jones. Do you see that?
I do.
Who is Jeff Jones?
I believe he was security, head of security.
How did you come to know Mr. Jones was in charge of security?
So shortly after the phone call, I was advised that I was going to receive a phone call or have to speak to someone in security, so to be ready to talk to them. So yeah, I was advised that I would need to speak to them about the phone call I took.
And the email on the second page, the one that's from you, is also copied to Angel Bisones. That was your supervisor, right?
Correct.
So did Mr. Bisones tell you that you would be communicating with Jeff Jones concerning the matter?
Was it him? Yeah. If not him, then I had another supervisor, Ashley. So one of the two.
All right. Now, this email from you to Mr. Jones is on the second page of Exhibit 2, was sent on Thursday, June 21, 2018 at 12:12 p.m., correct?
Correct.
And that's almost 24 hours after the phone call, right?
Correct.
Was this your first communication to anybody summarizing the phone call?
Objection, mistakes the record.
I mean, to the best of my recollection, yeah. As far as first email in details, yeah, I can, yeah.
All right. Do you believe this email that you sent to Mr. Jones to be an accurate description of the phone call that you had received the prior day?
Absolutely.
Do you recall, had you spoken with Mr. Jones by phone before you sent him this recap?
Yes.
And in your phone call with him, was that on the same date, Thursday, June 21st?
Yes.
Was Mr. Bezanes participant in that phone call?
No.
In your phone call, did you tell him the things that were contained on the email that you sent him that we're looking at?
Yes.
And was this email intended to be a written recap of what you explained to him in the phone call?
Correct. Yes.
Was there anything in the phone call that went beyond what you described in your recap to him?
Objection vague.
Okay, so I don't understand the question. You said, was there anything in the phone call that goes beyond my description? So anything that I left out?
Well, let me fix it so it's not confusing. Was your phone call more detailed than your recap, or more or less the same?
Objection vague.
I would assume that it was all the same, only because this is more descriptive than probably more than what I could describe over the phone. I think that I was very thorough when I explained how the phone call actually transpired in this statement.
So you believe, if I understand what you just said, that the email is probably even more descriptive than your phone call?
Thorough, yes.
Right. Did you receive any training from Tesla on how to handle a situation such as the phone call you received on June 20th?
No.
Had you ever received training from any of your prior employers on how to handle a situation such as that?
Possibly. Yeah. Yeah, just to answer your question.
And where had you received such training?
Well, my current job, for example, but prior,
Yes, ma'am.
like security threats or security issues. Well, I'll have to take that back then. No, training, no. I've never received training on how to escalate like security issues.
Ms. Bell, if we take a look at the first page of the Exhibit 2, this appears to be a responsive email you received back from Mr. Jones on June 21st at 2:21 p.m. Is that right?
Correct.
And he obviously misspells your first name, right?
Right.
And he says, thanks for your statement. I would like to introduce you, Sarah O'Brien, on our comms team. She may have a few follow-up questions. Did you know who Sarah O'Brien was at the time?
No.
Did you eventually have a conversation with Miss O'Brien?
Very likely. I don't remember names like that. I've had to, discuss this call with multiple people over and over. So I didn't know who she was at the time, though.
Understood. So, do you have any recollection of subsequently speaking to someone on the comms team, whatever that is?
Yeah.
And who do you recall having a communication with?
Again, with the names and it being over a year, I would assume, I would assume it was Sarah O'Brien, possibly. I know I spoke to someone that came, someone that actually physically came. I did have to discuss the phone call in person. No, that was probably a different team. No. It's been so long. I don't know these names. They don't. They're mismatched. Like I don't know because it's been so long.
I understand. Now, I noticed nowhere in the recap that you provided does it say that Mr. Tripp was going to, and I use these words specifically, quote, shoot the place up, end of quote, correct?
Correct.
And if someone had said that during the phone call, you would have included that in your recap to be careful and complete, correct?
Correct. If it was said verbatim, yes.
Now, you indicated you had communications with personnel in the communications department for Tesla, but you don't recall their name. Is that right?
Right.
Did you meet with them in person or was it by phone?
I've met with multiple people in person and by phone.
Do you remember the names of any of the people you met with?
Unfortunately, I don't. It's been so long.
Did any of the people talk with you about relating the experience you had had on the phone call to members of the press?
Yeah. Yep. So, you mean?
Go ahead.
Do you mean like did someone discuss, if the press were try to communicate with me, like that type of a deal?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
And tell me what you recall about those discussions.
Just that if I was harassed or bothered by any reporters, to just to let someone know, just to make them aware of any contact with, requesting that I make them aware of any contact with any reporters, sorry.
And did they give you any guidance on whether to talk with reporters or not?
Well, they, would rather me not speak to reporters without, letting them know. So it was advised that, I do contact them if I was approached for an interview, just to give them the heads up. Yeah, it was just advised to let them know.
Did they tell you to say no comment and to decline an interview, or did they tell you it was okay to give an interview as long as you just let them know?
Well, I don't think it was really, there were no guidelines like that were actually set. It was more so like, there's a big case now. You may be, they wanted to forewarn me, you may be approached by reporters. If you have any issues with that, definitely call and let us know. Before you take any interviews, it would be, recommended that you go ahead and reach out to us and just let us know, which is understandable. But I looked at it more so as a security type of a deal, to make sure that I wasn't harassed as an employee.
All right. But just so I'm clear on exactly what the instructions were, there was never any instruction to you to decline an interview request. You felt that they were more concerned with protecting you.
Correct.
Did they give you any instructions to not use the name of Martin Tripp if you spoke to the media?
No.
Did you suggest to anybody at Tesla that you would prefer to remain anonymous?
Probably not, but that would have been the best solution for me. But no, I don't remember voicing that.
Do you recall if anyone in the communications department asked you if you would be open to speaking with the media?
Possibly.
And can you tell me the context and what you recall about that discussion?
The context is very vague as far as what I remember about that meeting with I think it was Tesla PR. I mean, she probably worded it the same way that you did. Would you be open to speaking to the media in regards to, this?
Okay, and do you recall what you said?
I don't want to be in the forefront, in front of any cameras. I don't mind speaking to the media, but it's not my preference. So I don't mind speaking to the media, but it's just not me. I'm not that type of person. I don't want attention on me.
Now, you indicated you couldn't remember whether it was Miss O'Brien that you spoke with or not. Did the person you speak with in the communications department, was that person a woman?
Was a woman, yep.
So it could have been Miss O'Brien, but you just don't know for sure.
Right.
Did she have an English accent?
She did. I remember.
Why don't we take a 5-minute break here if we can? Somehow I've lost the video and I just need to re-log in. So we could take a 5-minute restroom break and come back at that time. That would be great.
Okay.
Going off the record, the time is 11:48 a.m. Back on the record, the time is 11:54 a.m.
Thank you. Toby, I'd like to next look at a document that is a one-page email from Brooke Airy, dated Wednesday, June 20, 2018.
Okay, let me get that. Okay, I'm marking that as Exhibit 3. Handing it to the witness.
Ms. Bell, do you recall receiving this email on the afternoon of the 20th, the date that you received the phone call?
Yes, correct.
Who is Brooke Airy?
I don't remember.
It refers to Fremont Security. Do you know what Fremont Security is?
Could be two different things because I spoke to two different security teams, I believe. Or maybe not. Maybe it was the same security team. But Fremont Security possibly was a security team that was already up north in not Sparks. I don't know why I keep saying it. It is Sparks though, right? Sparks, Nevada. I don't remember though, to be exactly to be exact, I don't remember. But it was the security team that I was advised to talk to.
Thank you. Toby, I'd like to next go to a one-page email that's from Ms. Bell to Robert Smith on June 21, 2018.
Okay. Okay, that's number 4. and I'm handing it to the witness.
Ms. Bell, could you identify what this document is, please?
I can. So we have we had like a work chat, and this was through the IM, the messenger for work.
All right, and so this is what, a recap of instant messages?
This is a screenshot of a conversation that I had with one of my coworkers, one of my close coworkers.
And that's Robert Smith?
Correct.
And what department did Robert work in?
He was in department. He was in scheduling, field service scheduling.
And when did these communications take place? Were these on June 21st, or were these communications that had taken place the prior day?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure it might be time stamped, but I don't recall. It says the 21st.
Well, let me just try to get a better understanding of this. The setup of this makes it look like it's kind of an email. It's his message, and it has the typical header setting, a printout of an email. Was that something that you pasted into an email, or is this just the way that instant messages print up if you try to recap them?
Very likely the way that it prints out, because we didn't have any message headers. It was more like a IM chat.
And these are accurate reflections of messages that you would send to Mr. Smith
Correct.
after the phone call? Were there other messages you had with other persons at the company, Tesla, regarding the June 20th phone call with the anonymous caller?
No.
Objection vague.
Did you have any other messages with persons at Tesla regarding the phone caller?
No.
In one of your messages, you say that Tesla PR and security keeps calling me, giving me heads up for a potential media flock. Is that right?
Correct.
Who was calling you from Tesla?
From my statement or from my conversation, looks like the PR team. Like I said, I don't remember names. PR team and security.
Was one calling you before the other, or were they both calling you at the same time?
I'm pretty sure I spoke to security first, and then I spoke to the PR team.
Did you speak with them on more than one occasion?
Objection vague.
I don't recall. I know I did speak to security, but in that same time frame, like the same day, I'm not 100% sure. It's all spanned out to a long period of the interviews, same interview over and over.
Did the PR team tell you that they were the reason for any follow-up calls to you?
Not that I can recall.
Did the PR people meet with you in person?
I did have a meeting with one lady from the PR. Yeah.
And do you recall the date of that meeting?
I don't.
Do you think it was very shortly after the date of the phone call?
I'm pretty
Or do you
sure.
know?
I'm pretty sure it was within days. Yeah.
And was it the woman with the English accent?
I believe so. Yeah.
In your Exhibit 4 and your series of comments on there that were sent by instant messages, you said, "I never said shoot the place up," into quotes. That's correct. You never said that, did you?
I never verbally said that. No.
And if the caller had said somebody was going to shoot the place up, you would have certainly included that in your detailed recap that we looked at previously, right?
Correct.
Toby, I'd like to go next to an email that is, it's an email from Sarah O'Brien to Julia Wong, and it's dated June 20, 2018 at 5:55 p.m. And it's multiple pages, perhaps about 10 pages or so.
Okay. Sarah O'Brien, that's not, there's not a 2 there. Julie Wong, Wednesday, June 20? Yes, okay. That's exhibit 5.
Oh, that's a lot. Okay.
And she has it.
Ms. Bell, I've handed you an email that you're not listed as a recipient or a sender, so I don't expect you to have firsthand knowledge of this. But have you ever seen this email before?
Let me look through it. Oh, maybe on Twitter. I've heard rumors of Elon Musk and Martin Tripp going back and forth. So I would assume that this is what that is here, just from what I'm looking at. Yeah, I've seen this on Twitter, on social media, something.
Ms. Bell, looking at the first page of this document in the email from Ms. O'Brien to Ms. Wong, by the way, do you know who Ms. Wong or Dave Arnold are?
No, I don't recall who they are.
Do those names sound familiar, like someone you might have spoken with or not?
No.
The first paragraph says, attributed to a Tesla spokesperson, and then there's a written statement that says, this afternoon we received a phone call from a friend of Mr. Tripp telling us that Mr. Tripp would be coming to the Gigafactory to, quote, shoot the place up, end of quote. Police have been notified and actions are being taken to enhance security at the Gigafactory. Let me first ask you, with respect to the header that says attributed to a Tesla spokesperson, does that have any significance to you, that particular header?
Attributed to a Tesla spokesperson?
Yes.
I mean, to a Tesla spokesperson? I don't know how to answer that question. I don't understand the question, I guess.
That's fine. My understanding is that when something at Tesla was supposed to be put out for public consumption, it would typically include such a header. That doesn't mean anything to you based upon the type of work you did at Tesla.
Right.
Had you ever seen the quoted statement right below that header?
I saw this in the media. Correct, yes.
Did anyone at Tesla ever seek your confirmation that what was reflected in that official statement was true and correct?
Seek my confirmation as far as
Yes.
whether or not this was true and correct. If you're referring to verbiage wise and the shoot the place up sentence, that was not stated. However, the actions of the man being heavily armed and wanting to hurt people, There's only one thing that, well, I can't assume, but there's only one thing you can do when you're heavily armed. So it's still saying the same thing, but verbiage wise, that was not my exact verbiage.
Okay, but isn't it a fact that the caller did not say that the person was coming to the Gigafactory to shoot the place up?
Objection asked and answered.
Correct. That wasn't the verbiage that was used.
And if the caller had said that Mr. Tripp was going to the Gigafactory to shoot the place up, you would have put that in your recap of the call, wouldn't you?
I would have, and I probably would have thought it was a prank at that point. That type of, but yeah, I would have stated that.
Because that would have been an important message to convey, wouldn't it?
Correct.
Did you tell anyone at Tesla after that phone call that the alleged or the anonymous caller was a friend of Mr. Tripp?
Did I tell anybody at Tesla that the anonymous caller, you mean after the phone call? Yeah, in this, well, the thing is, I talked to like security teams. So when you say tell anybody, yeah, I told the parties that I was supposed to advise in regards to this. So as far as anybody that's not related to this, no, I don't like talking about this case.
I guess, Mike, where I was going with it is, if you told someone this, you would have told them that the caller said he was a friend of Mr. Tripp, not
Correct.
that the caller was a friend of Mr. Tripp, because you didn't know that, right?
Correct.
As far as you knew, the anonymous caller could have been a friend, but he also could have been an enemy, correct?
It's possible.
Did you recognize the voice of the caller?
I wouldn't be, no, didn't recognize it. But then again, I talk to people on a daily basis over the phone. So no, I didn't recognize it and probably couldn't recognize it today.
Could you describe any characteristics of the caller's voice? Did it sound like maybe his age?
Age? He didn't sound like an older, like a super, well, he didn't sound young, like a teenager. He didn't sound super, I won't say super old, but he didn't sound, to be in his 60s. I would say maybe around the age of 30 to maybe 45, if I had to guess.
Did the county sheriff's department interview you about the phone call that you had taken?
Yes.
And can you describe how that interview was conducted? Was it in person or over the phone?
I believe it was over the phone. I know they were trying to reach me in person, but I wasn't at work that day. So I believe we talked over the phone.
Did they ask you to estimate what you thought the age of the caller was?
No.
Did they ask you anything else that might help them identify the caller?
That might identify the caller as far as like, did I hear anything in the background as far as the location of the call? Anything like that? Did it sound like a possible prank? I'm just trying to recall what I had so many interviews. To identify the caller. That's all that I can remember. Like they were just going for context clues. As far as the identity of the guy, I could only go from what I was told, which was, hey, I'm a friend of Martin Tripp, and I don't know how I can answer that question. I don't know if that didn't answer it or if it was kind of touching base on it a little, but I don't know.
I appreciate your answer. Did you hear anything in the background from the caller?
No.
Was there any noise that suggested whether or not the caller might have been calling from a cell phone or in a car or in a quiet room? Did you get any sense of that?
No, I didn't. It definitely wasn't in a car though. Yeah, but nothing that stood out.
Do you have any personal knowledge if anyone at Tesla did any follow-up investigation to see if they could try to identify the person who made the call?
I have no knowledge of it, but I'm not a part of those teams that partake in any investigations. So I have no knowledge of it.
Toby, I'd like to hand Ms. Bell a one-page document that looks like a screenshot from a social media contact from someone named Matt Robinson at the top of the page.
Okay. Is it one page or more than that?
It's one page.
Okay.
Matt Robinson is very pronounced.
Okay, yes, I got it. It's Exhibit 6.
Okay.
Ms. Bell, I handed you Exhibit 6, and I suspect this might be something you referred to in earlier testimony regarding a reporter that reached out to you.
Correct.
And this appears to be March 9th, 2019. Does that sound about right when this reporter may have reached out to you?
Yes.
Did you end up speaking with Mr. Robinson?
No.
Did anyone else from any other media outlets reach out to you personally about the anonymous caller on June 20th, 2018?
No.
Did anyone at Tesla give you any instructions on what you had permission to say or what you didn't have permission to say if someone from the media reached out to you and caught you?
No, not that I can recall.
I'd like to next give the witness, Toby, an exhibit that's 5 pages, and the first 2 pages, actually the first 3 pages, are completely blacked out with
Okay,
redactions.
I have that right here. Well,
Hold on. I think he said the first 3 pages.
I know. I
Oh,
did
I
not
see.
print up the first 2 pages because my printer was running out of ink, and I was scared it would. But if you need those printed up later,
No.
you want those attached? Okay. This is Exhibit 7.
And just so I make sure we're talking about the same document then, is the first page an email from Angel Besanes to Shamara Bell?
Yep.
Great. This is an email, Ms. Bell, that was sent on Thursday, June 21, 2018 at 1:17 p.m. It was sent to you and to Mr. Jones, and it refers to a call log from yesterday's call. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
Maybe you could help me explain this. First of all, have you ever seen a screenshot like this with this kind of data concerning a phone call?
No. I mean, you mean when I was working? Like, is this how we look
Yes.
at? No.
Is that little box of information information? Is that something you had the ability to pull up regarding the call, or did someone else have the ability to pull this up and send it to you?
Only supervisors.
You see on the left, probably the third and fourth column, it has a start time and an end time, and it says 139.4 and 146.3. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
Does that seem like that was the time of the day when you received the phone call?
Yes.
There's some data over on the far right, however. The fourth and third column from the end, there's a start and end there, and it's slightly different. There's a 140.17 and a 146.37 time. Do you know if those are pertaining to the same call and why they are slightly, ever so slightly different?
I don't know why, but it's only the difference is what, a minute? I don't know what. I would assume that it's pertaining to the same call. However, since I didn't have access to this menu, I can't answer that question. But so it's a minute difference.
Okay. Toby, I'd like to next give the witness a copy of a Story County Sheriff's Office felony report, and I don't know the exact number of pages, but it looks like somewhere between 10 and 15 pages. And it looks like a typical sheriff's report on the first page, a little star in the upper left-hand corner. Let me know if you need more help in finding it.
Okay. I think it's a really big one. Yeah, there it is. Okay, that's Exhibit 8.
Miss Bell, have you ever seen this document before? Feel free to take a minute or two to look at it.
Gotcha. No, I've never seen this document before. Oh, wait. Description. Now, I remember vaguely seeing something like the supplemental when it goes to the supplemental narrative. That, it just basically describes what happened when, Martin Tripp was located after our security was made aware of the possible threat to the Gigafactory. Yeah, so I recall this part.
Okay, but when you say you recall this part, I think what you're saying is you recall some of the information described in there. You're not saying you've ever seen this report, is that right?
Have I seen this report before? No, I've never seen this report before. No.
Let me direct you through some of it because although you may have not seen this document before, some of the information may be information you can help me with. You referred to the supplement. If you could go to the first page that has supplement number 2 as a header.
Okay.
Let me know when you get there.
Gotcha.
And Robert, just for the record, on this one we can see the Bates number, so you can use those for this document.
Thank you. Then I'm referring to page 1259.
Okay, I'm there.
There's a paragraph that begins, Guthrow provided me with the Tesla internal message. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
It says Tesla internal message that was sent from the Tesla Las Vegas call center to the Tesla Gigafactory regarding the possible actions regarding Martin Tripp. Do you know what internal message that's referring to?
Very likely, it was probably instant messaging because we used chat a lot to pass information or relay information.
And then it goes on to say, we have an employee in Plant O&M that is on the phone with someone. What does Plant O&M refer to?
That was my team. Technical support. Yeah, it was just tech support. I don't recall the acronyms, what they stood for. But that was my tech support team.
All right. Let me direct your attention to the page number 1260. On the last paragraph, whoever the author of this report says, on June 25, 2018, I made contact with Officer Ryan Kraft of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department Central Command to see if they would be available to interview Shamara Bell. Do you recall anyone from Las Vegas Police talking with you?
Yes.
And do you recall when they spoke with you?
No. Date-wise, no.
The last sentence of that paragraph says, the caller stated that he had never heard Tripp directly make any threats regarding the Tesla Gigafactory. Is that something that you would have communicated to this officer such that that's why it's in the report?
No. I mean, unless he specifically asked me, hey, did the caller say that, he was going to go straight to the Gigafactory? Like, I guess it's about context, but I don't recall even being asked.
Let's turn to the last page, which is page 1266. Ms. Bell, this is an email from an officer, David Ballantyne, from Clark County, Nevada, to Tony Dosen, who is someone with the Sheriff's Department locally near the Gigafactory. And the officer, Ballantyne, is reporting on his apparently attempts to make contact with you and his communications with Ashley Ferrigno. Do you remember Ashley Ferrigno as being one of your supervisors?
Yes, I do.
And Ashley Ferrigno was the other supervisor you told me about earlier in the deposition. You just couldn't remember her last name, right?
Yeah, well, I just didn't provide her last name, but yeah, she was my supervisor my whole, term there.
Did you actually have any discussions with Mr. Ballantyne?
If he was the officer that I spoke to, then absolutely. I do recall speaking to an officer who interviewed me in regards to my phone call, the phone call that I took.
Did anyone reach out to you later in the day on June 20, 2018, the day you received the anonymous call, advising you that the Story County Sheriff's Office had determined that there was no credible threat from Mr. Tripp?
I believe he let me know, the officer that I spoke to. I could be wrong, but I do recall someone telling me, hey, you know what, they found him, and he wasn't at home, and from what I heard, I I don't know if it's true, but from what I heard was they found him in his family in a hotel, and he didn't have any weapons. But I can't say for sure if I heard it from him. It's been so long ago.
Understood. Toby, I'd like to give Ms. Bell an email from Dave Arnold to Gina Antonini, dated June 21, 2018. And I should tell you it's 2 pages.
Okay. And that is Exhibit 9.
Thank you. Ms. Bell, I've handed you a series of emails. It looks like the oldest of which was your original June 21st recap email to Jeff Jones. It was forwarded by Ms. Brian O'Brien to someone named Dave Arnold and Gina Antonini. Do you see that?
I do.
And Ms. O'Brien's email says, I'm trying to speak to Shamara to see if she'd be open to speaking to media, but I think we share this with people that make sense. Do you recall anyone at Tesla reaching out to you and asking you if you would be open to speaking with the media?
So, yeah, I mean, not like, do you want like a certain designated date and time? But I was asked by Tesla, hey, would you be opposed to speaking to the media in regards to the phone call? But there was like no set date for it.
And when they asked you that, do you recall what you said to them?
Just that, I don't mind speaking to the media, if it'll help. But, I kind of don't want the attention on me. But if it would help to clear the air, then yeah, I don't mind speaking to the media.
Now, this email from Ms. O'Brien to others was June 21, 2018 at 2:41 p.m. So that was roughly over 24 hours after the phone call you had received. Is that correct?
Yeah, give or take.
And just in trying to ascertain the timing of this, in her first sentence where she says she's trying to speak to you to see if you'd be open to speaking to the media, do you think that she reached out to you earlier that morning of the 21st or after this email had been sent out? Or do you have recollection?
It's kind of hard to say. I know that it wasn't too far after. I honestly don't remember. So you're asking, did she reach out to me prior to sending this email out, is what you're asking?
Yes.
We're going to have to change the tape in a minute, Robert.
Say that again?
The tape is finishing up for the video.
All right.
Well,
I'll just let Ms. Bell finish her answer and we can take a break.
I'm not sure. Very likely this was probably sent before.
Thank you. We can take a break now.
Okay, we're off the. Oh.
Going off the record, the time is 12:31 p.m. Back on the record, today is Friday, September 6, 2019. The time is 12:33 p.m. This is Disc 2 of a video deposition of Shamara Bell.
Toby, I would like to give the witness a 2-page document as an exhibit. It's an email from Sarah O'Brien to Dave Arnold, dated June 21, 2018 at 5:19 p.m.
Okay. Okay. That will be Exhibit 10. There you go.
Miss Bell, this is an email from Sarah O'Brien to Dave Arnold and Gina Antonini later on the day of June 21, 2018. And again, it's forwarding your original email, your recap email of Thursday, June 21, earlier in the day. And it says by Miss O'Brien, yeah, I think we just asked people to remove her name and give the context that she's a customer specialist. And then it goes on to say, in Mr. Arnold's email, should we just remove her name and let the people quote from it? Do you recall any discussions with people in PR or communications at Tesla regarding this subject matter?
No. As far as trying to keep my name out of the media, yeah. As little as possible. Like, if it was absolutely necessary for me to speak to the media, then at that point, then, my name would be mentioned. But the goal was to not start, like, a frenzy while I'm working or to be bothered. So yeah, basically they were just trying to keep my name out of the media. And I was trying to keep my name out of the media as well.
This email was after 5 o'clock on June 21st, the day after the phone call. Did anybody at Tesla tell you that because legal authorities or law enforcement authorities had determined it was not Mr. Tripp, that you should not mention Mr. Tripp's name?
No.
Toby, I'd like to hand the witness a document that is a 2-page email. It's dated Tuesday, August 28th, 2018, from Arian Adamson to Arian Adamson regarding Martin Tripp possible threat.
I have it, but it's to Brooke Airy, and you said to Arian Adamson.
No, I think you might be looking at a different email. The one I'm looking for is from Arian Adamson to Arian Adamson, and it's dated August 28th, 2018.
Let me go back.
The Tesla label is in red. There's the red Tesla logo twice on the first page.
Do not have that one. Let me look at the one that.
Well, tell me about the email you found. You said there was one from Arian Adamson to Brooke Airy?
Yes. Let me look
Pull
at.
that. Are you looking at the email that's at the bottom, but the top one is from Arian Adamson to himself?
No. And this one's June 20th, not the 28th. Let me look through one more time. Okay. Let me just make sure something didn't get in the wrong place. Stapled wrong. It doesn't have any blackout on it, does it?
No.
Okay. Just making sure maybe the name was blacked out. Unless I'm wrong, we don't have that one.
Don't worry about it, Toby. Let's find a one-page email from Brooke Airy dated Wednesday, June 20, 2018 at 1:56 p.m. to Avery Bustamante.
I do have that one. Okay. That's number 11.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Bell, do you remember having any communications with Brooke Airy related to the June 20th phone call?
Again, with the names, I have no idea. I spoke to a few different people. I do remember Avery. I remember that name.
And then it begins, hi, one of the call center operators in Las Vegas just took a call from someone saying they are a friend of Martin Tripp and stating he is heavily armed and on his way to the Gigafactory. Call center employee is Shamara Bell. Just again to make clear, the caller did not tell you that Mr. Tripp was on his way to the Gigafactory, did he?
He didn't, and he didn't, but he could have assumed, like, you never know with these types of calls. But he didn't say, oh, he's on his way there right now to the Gigafactory. He did say he's concerned for. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just want to be concerned with facts. Isn't it true the caller did not say that Mr. Tripp was on his way to the Gigafactory?
Objection, argumentative.
No. So he did say that he was on his way at that moment to the Gigafactory, not specifically. Verbiage-wise, that's not what was said.
Well, I want to make sure I understand the distinction you're making, Ms. Bell. When you tell me that he didn't say he was on the way to the Gigafactory at that moment, does that mean he said that he was on his way to the Gigafactory a half an hour from now? Or did he just not say he was on his way to the Gigafactory, period?
He didn't say that he was on his way to the Gigafactory. He did say that he is afraid that people are going to be hurt at the Gigafactory because his friend is volatile, upset, heavily armed. But he didn't list a specific time frame.
Ms. Bell, thank you. I have no further questions for you right now. Your counsel may have questions, and that may prompt me to have some follow-up ones. But for right now, I have no further questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, let's take a quick minute.
Going off the record, the time is 12:43 p.m. Back on the record, the time is 12:47 p.m.
Good afternoon, Ms. Bell. My name is Doug Beteta, and I represent Tesla. I'd like to ask you a few questions. Could you tell us your full name?
Shamara Bell.
Did you work at Tesla in 2018?
Yes, I did.
And are you still working there?
No, I'm not.
Where do you work now?
I work for Apple. Well, it's a company called Kelly Connections, but it's the Apple campaign.
And what do you do for Apple?
Technical support.
And when you were at Tesla, what was your job?
Technical support.
And at what Tesla location did you work?
It was in Las Vegas.
Now I want to focus on some events that happened on June 20th, 2018. How many years had you been working at a call center at that time?
At that specific call center?
No, in any call center.
Oh, man. Since 2008, I want to say, up until present time.
So about 8 years, is that accurate?
Correct, yeah, that's about right.
And when you were you at work that day on June 20th?
Yes, I was.
Did Tesla records call to the call center at that time?
No.
Did you receive a call concerning a threat to Tesla's Gigafactory in Nevada?
I did.
And what did the caller say?
So the caller, he stated that he had some concerns. Well, that's not how it started, but he said that he was calling because he's a friend of someone that was recently fired from Tesla, and he was upset because his name was just released in the media. He's scared. He was scared for the safety of the employees at the Gigafactory. Says that his friend was heavily armed and volatile, so he was just calling to report this to let us know. That's the gist of the conversation that I had with him.
Anything else that you recall from the call?
I was trying to probe and try to get a name for him or a contact number, and he wanted to remain anonymous. So, my efforts at identifying who he was were unsuccessful. He said that he didn't want to be involved because he was a friend of Martin Tripp.
Did you think this was a credible threat?
Yes.
And why?
Objection to Paul. Foundation. Objection, Foundation.
I thought it was credible. Things like this happen every day. And protocol, even if it led to nothing, it's a serious threat. People could get hurt if this wasn't reported in some way, shape, form, fashion. We see this every day at Walmarts and schools. So yes, I thought it was credible.
And did anything about the call and the caller make you think that the call was credible?
He sounded sincere.
Objection for.
He sounded sincere. He sounded scared. Perhaps even a little nervous. But he also sounded like, hey, this is my sense of duty. Like I need to at least let someone know, in an attempt to stop people from being hurt.
As a result of the call, were you worried or scared?
It was scary. Definitely worried. I wanted to get all the information that I could possibly get and escalate it forward, because sometimes time is everything. So yeah, I was worried and a little scared.
Did you ever think that the call was fake?
Never.
And why not?
The seriousness of this call, he sounded genuine. I had no reason to question. He didn't give me a reason to question. It didn't sound like he was laughing, or it didn't sound like he was rushing through it. He was, he just genuinely sounded like he was concerned.
Could you get the caller's number from the caller ID?
No.
Did it raise any concern or make you suspicious that the caller ID was blocked?
No.
And why not?
Sometimes people block their phone numbers because they don't want to, they don't want people to have access to their information. So it's just all about, like, not security, what's the right word? It's just being private. Privacy, I guess.
Did you let any of your coworkers know what was going on while the caller was on the phone?
No, I didn't.
Did you tell your supervisor what was going on while the call was on the phone?
Correct, yes, I did.
And what did you tell your supervisor?
I let him know that I had a caller. I had somebody on my phone that says that he has a friend that used to work for our company who was recently fired. His name is in the media. He's really upset about it because he was fired and it's all public. He's extremely volatile, heavily armed, and he's afraid that his friend is going to hurt people up at the Gigafactory. So that's what I relayed over to my supervisor.
And at that point, were you able to get an inclination of who the caller might be calling about?
Oh, no. Not until, excuse me, I knew nothing of Martin Tripp. Mind you, this was probably like the situation that happened with him and Tesla was probably, it happened maybe 3 or 4 days prior to me getting that call. I'm not sure. But no, I didn't know anything about him. When I was explaining the situation to my supervisor, my coworker was seated next to him. And she was like, well, I'm wondering, I wonder if this is in regards to Martin Tripp. I'm like, Martin Tripp? Okay, well, he was like, okay, well, try to get some more information. And, so that way we can escalate the call up with more information. So, I returned to the call and I asked him to confirm. I was like, well, is this in regards to Martin Tripp? He did confirm that, yes, this is in regards to Martin Tripp. So at that point, that's when I realized that, okay, it was in regards to Martin Tripp.
How did you feel after taking the call?
Worried, scared, shocked. Yeah.
Were you concerned that Mr. Tripp might show up to the Gigafactory to shoot up the place?
Yeah.
Were you concerned for the safety of those at the Gigafactory?
Absolutely.
Why?
Oh, because just being heavily armed and volatile and upset can lead to things like Columbine. Like, it's not a good combination. So, yeah, I was worried for them.
Did Tesla Security reach out to you concerning the threat to the Gigafactory that you received?
Yes.
How soon after the call?
I don't think it was too long after, maybe within the hour.
And what did Tesla Security tell you? Or, I'm sorry, what did you tell Tesla Security?
They basically have been asking me, well, they basically ask me the same thing every time I talk to them. Can you describe the situation? So, I've repeatedly gone over the events of the phone call. But that's it. I've just been asked to recap the phone call that I took.
Did Tesla Security attempt to influence your recollection of the threat that you received?
No.
Let me hand you what we'll mark Exhibit 12.
Thank you.
Just take a few minutes, just look through it.
Gotcha. Okay.
And can you tell me what this email is, Ms. Bell?
Well, the email started, looks like, from the escalation that I started, because I was asked, hey, send an email to our secretary so that she can escalate this appropriately. So I went ahead and I had to hurry. I felt like I had to hurry and sent the email over so that way she can, get the process started on, getting a security team out there to our Gigafactory.
And how soon after the call do you think you sent this email?
I don't know. Probably less than an hour. I know it was less than an hour. I would say probably within minutes, maybe 30 minutes or so. Oops, sorry, excuse me. Didn't cough.
And we were looking earlier we were speaking earlier and looking at documents that showed that the call had occurred or ended around 1:46 p.m. Do you recall that?
That sounds accurate.
And then this email, which is on the second page of, it starts on the second page of Exhibit 12, states it was sent at 1:51 p.m. on June 20th, 2018.
Oh, okay. That's accurate. That sounds about accurate then. Yep.
So this was within minutes after you ended with the call,
Yep.
correct?
Within 5 minutes. Yep.
So you were trying to get this information out quickly.
Absolutely.
And why is that?
Well, there was a threat to people's lives, so I take that seriously. So I had to do my part and just push it forward, regardless of the outcome.
And now, looking at the email directly above yours, can you just take a couple of minutes and read that to yourself?
Okay. Okay.
And this is an email sent by Brooke Airy on June 20th, 2018 at 1:56 p.m. to Avery Bustamante. And do you think that this email message and the IM screenshot captured, I'm sorry, let me start again. Do you think that the email message and the IM screenshot shown here accurately captured the gist of the threat that you received?
Absolutely.
And why is that?
Because the threat was a heavily armed man who's upset, wanting to hurt people, employees that were at the Gigafactory. So it definitely captures that fear, that everything, it captures it here.
Let me hand you what will mark Exhibit 13.
Okay.
And can you tell me what this email is?
This is my statement, and I'd say the most accurate recollection of this phone call. So yeah, this is my statement.
And so this is a summary of the threat to the Gigafactory that you received on June 20th, 2018. Is that right?
Absolutely.
And when did you write this summary?
The following day, June 21st.
And at the time you wrote this statement, was the call still fresh in your memory?
It was.
And does this email accurately capture your recollection of the threat to the Gigafactory?
It does.
Do you recall if anyone tried to influence your memory of the call?
No, not at all. Not at all. No influence. This is how I remember this call.
Are you aware that Tesla made a statement about the threat you received concerning the Gigafactory?
Yeah. Yep.
And did you have an opportunity to see or hear that statement in June of 2018, around that time?
See or hear, like you mean from Tesla or
No,
just the
anyway.
media? Everything I heard was through the media.
And when you heard that statement, did you believe that Tesla's representation conveyed the gist of the threat you received?
Yeah. Yep.
And let me go back to what's been marked as Exhibit 4.
Okay.
And towards the middle of the page, you said, I never said shoot the place up, though. Ain't that ghetto?
Right.
Is that right?
Right.
And what did you mean by saying I ain't that ghetto?
The verbiage, simply the verbiage. I would, like, if it wasn't, like, verbatim said in that conversation, I would never say, oh, no, he said he's going to shoot the place up. No, that's what I meant. By ghetto, I just meant that particular verbiage.
And so even though the phrase "shoot the place up" was ghetto, does the statement convey the gist of the call you received?
Yes, because if he's heavily
Objection to
armed,
conversation.
Objection what? I couldn't hear.
Ms. Bell? Yeah, Ms. Bell, if you, I know this is awkward, but if you could slow down before answering, there are some questions he asked that I may need to interpose a legal objection. I don't want to throw you off, but if you just give me a second, that way we won't talk over one another. And what I said, Ms. Court Reporter, was objection, foundation, leading.
okay. So
You
I
need the
forgot,
question
I
read back?
forgot the question.
Yeah, could you read back the
Sorry.
question if you don't mind?
Question, so even though the phrase "shoot the place up" was ghetto, does the statement convey the gist of the call you received?
Yes.
Did the caller specifically state that Mr. Tripp was on his way to the Gigafactory to start shooting?
No.
But based on what the caller said, did you understand that the caller was concerned that Mr. Tripp might just do that?
Absolutely.
Objection, foundation, leading.
Sorry. Absolutely.
And let me go back now to what's previously been marked Exhibit 5. You weren't copied on this email, but could you take a look at the first paragraph, paragraph under that statement attributed to a Tesla spokesperson?
Okay. Done.
Do you believe that the statement on Exhibit 5 that I just pointed to you accurately captures the gist of the threat to the Gigafactory that you received?
Yes.
Objection to form.
And if you look at the bottom of Exhibit 4, there's an email that starts there, and it says on June 20th, 2018, and it's an email from Mr. Musk. If you can just read that short paragraph to yourself.
Okay.
And in the third sentence of that email, Mr. Musk describes the call you received on June 20th, 2018. Is that correct?
Correct.
Do you believe that Mr. Musk captures the gist of the threat to the Gigafactory that you received?
I do.
Objection, foundation, leading, vague and ambiguous.
I do.
Let me hand you what's been previously marked Exhibit 8. And could you turn to the last page of Exhibit 8?
Okay.
And we're looking at the second to last paragraph of this email from an officer, David Ballantyne, to Tony Dosen, which is Exhibit 8. And that last sentence of the second to last paragraph states, the caller never stated that he heard Tripp make direct threats regarding the Gigafactory. Do you understand what Mr. Ballantyne is saying there?
Well, he's just saying that, well, if I'm understanding this correctly,
Objection to form. Objection to form, speculation.
okay. I mean, if I'm understanding this correctly, it's just saying that the person that, that I was talking to never said that Martin Tripp was headed directly to the Gigafactory.
Did you? And we previously spoke that you did in fact speak with Mr. Ballantyne. Is that correct? Or to an officer for the Las Vegas Police Department. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And did you ever tell that officer that there was no threat to the Gigafactory?
No.
In fact, you told him just the opposite, correct?
Right. Correct.
Objection to form leading foundation.
Did you interpret the call you received on June 20th, 2018 as creating a threat to the Gigafactory and its employees?
Objection to form speculation foundation.
Yes.
And why?
Okay. So
Objection to form foundation speculation.
what was the question?
Why do you believe that the caller, why do you believe the call on June 20th, 2018 created a threat to the Gigafactory and its employees?
Same objections.
Well, a threat of that serious, it's a serious nature of the threat. He sounded genuine, scared, like it was his obligation, like his duty to report this, to prevent people from being hurt, is what the sense I got from this conversation. I took it as a legitimate call. Had I not taken it seriously and something, the opposite would have happened, it could have had a whole different alternative ending. So things of that nature have to be addressed.
Thank you, Ms. Bill. I have nothing further.
Okay.
I do have just a few follow-up questions. Ms. Bell, you said in response to one of the questions from your counsel that these things happen every day. I just want to clarify, isn't it true the only time this ever happened to you was June 20th, 2018?
Yes, sir.
And in one of your responses, you mentioned something about protocol in these situations. Isn't it correct that Tesla had no protocol with respect to these situations that you had ever been advised of?
Correct. I'm just speaking of just like responsibility, a personal sense of responsibility.
And you were asked to comment on the credibility of the caller. Isn't it true that neither at Tesla or at any of your prior places of employment have you had training to assess and determine the credibility of someone on a phone?
Correct.
And twice you used the term sense of duty. The caller did not use those terms, did he?
No.
Thank you, Ms. Bell. I appreciate your time today. I have no further questions.
Thank you.
Did you want to do a stipulation, Robert, or are you good?
Yes, let's do. I assume the witness will want to read and sign.
Yes.
All right, and for the court reporter, I would like a complete copy of the transcript, the video sync, and the exhibits, please.
Then I'd like to designate the deposition confidential.
Did you need a copy also?
Yes, please.
Okay, Mr.
Understood
Mitchell,
without
do you want a copy of
consent.
the video?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Would you ask him if he wants a copy of the video?
He did say he did. Did you want me to ask him?
Well,
You can ask
yeah.
him. Yes, he did say video sync.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
This ends the deposition of Shamara Bell. The time is 1:12 p.m. We're off the record.